Hi everyone, Ali here. Well, today I'm going to make a trifold baby card. So someone I know is having a baby boy, so I'm going to make a card. So I've got a piece of cardstock here that measures 13.5 by 29 centimeters, and I'm just scoring it at 10.5 centimeters. Just going to get my bone folder, give that a crisp fold, making sure also that the edges are even. So I'm going to just turn this around and once again score at 10.5 centimeters. Now you'll see that there is a short piece on here which I'll need to discard, but before doing that I'm just going to fold with my bone folder. So I'm going to cut this piece of cardstock 1 centimeter past that score line there, and that's going to be my hinge to my third piece of the card. So I've got a piece of cardstock here measuring 13.5 centimeters, and I'm going to score that at 10.5 centimeters. So this is going to be my third piece, and that score line will be my guide to cutting. So I've cut that piece of card, and I'm just going to adhere it together with my dot liner, and I'm also going to put on some PVA glue. So making sure that that lines up and that the edges also line up. Now I'm going to let this dry for a while, so just going to adhere some clips to it and just put that aside. So recently I bought some dies from AliExpress, and this one is a word die. It's a boy, so it's got a background die plus the wording "It's a boy." So I've cut out the wording just in light blue and the background just in dark blue. So I'm going to adhere the wording to the background there, and I've got my precision glue here, and I'm just carefully just putting enough glue on the lettering so it will adhere. So just enough, but not too much, because you don't want it seeping out, even though this dries clear. So I'm going to get my tweezers and just place that on the background die there. Now using this glue gives me a little bit of wiggle time, so I just want to make sure that that wording is evenly spaced on the background. So now I have to put the dot on also, so just a little bit of glue. I'll use my pickup stick here and just attach the dot to the eye so it looks like it's a boy. Now I'm just going to use a stamping block just to put on the top, just a little bit of weight until that dries, so I'll put that aside. Now I'm going to do a background ink resist, and I've got some VersaMark ink here, and I've got a Stampendous Background stamp, so by Impressions. So I purchased this from Vic Warehouse in America off eBay. And I love this stamp background. So I'm just applying the VersaMark all over the stamp so it's just all nice and juicy. So I've got a bit of white cardstock here. It measures approximately 14 centimeters by about 12 centimeters. So this will be eventually cut down. But now I'm just going to rub it all over just so that VersaMark sticks to the card. And then I'll just peel that up and have a bit of a look, and it looks pretty good. So I'll just put that aside. Now I've got some Ranger embossing powder here, and this is my favorite embossing powder. I use this in 90% of my card making. So I'm going to apply that all over, and what this does, it will stick to the VersaMark ink. So just applying it liberally all over and just shaking the excess off back into the container. So I'll do the other end. I'm just making sure that I've got a good coverage there as well. So just checking that before putting it away. So once that's done now, I'm going to get my heat tool out. Now I'm going to get my heat tool hot before bringing it to the paper. And what this does is this will, the less time that it's with the paper, it won't warp. So you can tell when the heat embossing is done when it is shiny. So now I'm going to do the ink resist. So I've got this Distress Oxide ink in Broken China, and I'm going to use this colour all over. So in a circular motion, I'm going to bring this to the paper. Now the embossing that I've just done will resist the ink, so you'll see it a little later that the pattern will start to come through. So using circular motions, I colour this cardstock in. Now this is my I haven't had this Distress Oxide ink for all that long. I've just recently got it and it is brilliant. It covers really, really nicely. So I really love it. So just covering that all over and making sure that I've got an even coverage to the cardstock. So once this is done, I just lightly run over it with a rag and then I'll just heat set that. So now Distress Oxide actually reacts with water. Okay, so I want some droplets to appear on the card. So I've put some droplets down, I've waited a few seconds and I've just got some paper towel and I've just wiped off that water or sponged off that water. So you can add as little or as much as you want, and this is a really fantastic process. Any of the Distress ink ranges do this. So I've cut the cardstock down to 13.5 centimetres to 9.5 centimetres, and the edge I want to cover up with faded jeans, and this is a Distressed Oxide as well. So I want to get rid of that white edge, that cut line. So after that, I've got some background cardstock which measures 11 centimetres by 13 centimetres, and this is my background. So I'm just adhering some dot liner on it, and I'm just going to put some adhesive on it also, because I just want to be doubly sure this is going to stick and not fall apart. So I'm just going to eyeball this onto the navy cardstock there. So this is a Giraffe Die that I've recently got from AliExpress also, and he's a cute little thing, so I thought he'd go really well on the front of this card. So I've cut him out in yellow cardstock. Now I've got a Kaisercraft pen and also a distressed ink marker, Frayed Burlap. So the Kaisercraft ink pen, it's Desert Peach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to colour in all the little dots on the other side of the cardstock, and this will come through to the front of the die as such, and you'll see when I remove the die that the little giraffe will be revealed with some spots. So I'm just colouring those in. The pen here, I'm not using the brush, I'm using the pen part there, but I'm going to outline all the spots on him. So this will stand out a little bit for him. So just giving him a reveal, and I'm getting the frayed burlap and just going around the edge of the giraffe just to give him a little bit of dimension and just to colour that yellow bit. So now he hasn't got any eyes, nostrils or a belly, so I'm just going to cut that out of brown cardstock, and on the back of my little giraffe I'm just going to put some double-sided tape. So what this will do is on the other side I'll be able to stick his eyes, nostrils and little tummy down. So those bits are revealed and they're sticky. So all I'm going to do is upend him with those pieces in and just pop those pieces out so they will actually stick where I want them. So isn't he cute? He's a cute little fella, I think. Looks like a giraffe. So I'll just pop that aside. Now I'm going to bring everything together for the front of my card. So I've got some foam double-sided tape. Now I want to give this some dimension, so just putting on some foam tape there and on the giraffe as well, and I'm just eyeballing everything as well, so just making sure that everything's centered as such. So I want enough foam on this as well, so it doesn't bend or flop. So just removing all the backing pieces, and you won't see the foam either, so it will give this some dimension. So it looks pretty good, I think. So I've left that my tri-card to dry, and it's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to mount the front of this onto the front of my card. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape, and what I do when I'm mounting stuff like this, I want it to look perfect on the front. If anyone knows me, it just has to be even, or else I'm not happy. So then I pick off 2 corners diagonally to each other, just like I am here, okay? And then I'm going to put some glue down. So what this does is I'll be able to use the opposite corners that haven't had the tape revealed, and gives me time to actually make sure that that is even, which it is. So that's my card. So now I've got some marled paper, and this is as thin as photocopy paper. So I've got my Fiskars corner punch here, and I'm just punching the corner out of each of the papers. And then I'll stick these down to the card using my brayer and PVA glue. So I've got stuck down with PVA, got my brayer just to stick them down. Now I've got my Hero Arts little one cling stamps. I got this from Big Warehouse also. It's got a really cute little sentiment in it. So I'm going to inside the card, but before I do that, I'm going to use my embossing buddy, which will resist embossing powder. So I'm stamping up my stamp with Stampin' Up's black ink and centering that. So I'll just leave it for a couple of seconds. I'll get my embossing powder out, and I'll put some embossing powder all over that, just flicking off any excess. So I'm going to heat set this as well as I did with my previous embossing powder. So that's raised and that's given a really nice effect there. So on the back I always put my stamp, which is handmade by Ali. So I've got a template here which I actually use to make sure that my stamp is centered on the back of the card. There's nothing worse than getting a handmade card and the person's stamp isn't straight. So stamping that in with Stampin' Up's black ink, giving it a good press, removing that, and there you go. So a nice centered stamp. So once again I'm going to emboss this as well. Flick off any excess and I'll heat set that as well. Well, that's my tri-fold baby card done for today. If you've liked my process of this, please give me the thumbs up, give me a comment, and don't forget to share. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it for notifications of up and coming YouTubes. So once again, thanks so much and happy crafting everybody. See ya!